Hello and welcome. Before we begin, we'd like to take a brief moment to share an important disclaimer. The views, opinions, and statements expressed on the Rascals Lounge podcast are solely those of the host and guests and do not reflect the views of any organization, employer, or sponsor. This podcast is provided as is and is intended solely for informational and entertainment purposes. Discussions on this podcast may include topics such as politics, vaccines, the pharmaceutical industry, professional sports, esports professionals and organizations, content creators, music, medicine, law, science, psychology, herbal medicine, supplements, cannabis, nicotine, alcohol, religious leaders, faith-based beliefs, and other related subjects. All commentary is based on publicly available information, personal experience, or personal opinion. Any references to public figures, political parties, politicians, athletes, organizations, religious groups, or individuals, living or deceased, are opinion-based and are not intended as factual claims or statements that could harm reputations. No content on this podcast is meant to defame, discredit, or negatively impact the reputation of any person, group, political party, religious faith, or entity. The host and guests expressly disclaim all liability for defamation, libel, slander, or any misinterpretation of the views expressed. This podcast does not provide professional advice of any kind. Comments or discussions involving doctors, scientists, psychologists, attorneys, athletes, religious leaders, politicians, or other professionals, including those related to health, training, injuries, performance, the pharmaceutical industry, herbal remedies, supplements, cannabis, nicotine, alcohol, vaccines, or alternative treatments, are intended for general informational purposes only. Listeners should never start, stop, or alter any medication, treatment plan, religious practice, legal action, financial decision, or substance use based solely on content heard on this podcast. Always consult with a licensed professional or qualified advisor in the relevant field before making any decisions related to health, law, religion, finance, or lifestyle. The host and guests make no representations or warranties regarding the accuracy, completeness, or suitability of the information presented, and disclaim all responsibility for errors, omissions, or outcomes resulting from the use of this content. The podcast and its content are provided as is, without any express or implied warranties of any kind. By listening to, reading, or otherwise accessing this podcast, you acknowledge and agree that the Rascals Lounge podcast, including its host and guests, shall not be held liable for any interpretations, actions, or consequences resulting from the content of this program. We strongly encourage all listeners to think critically, do their own research, and form independent judgments before acting on any topic discussed. Listener discretion is advised. Thank you and enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Rascals Lounge podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Rascals Lounge podcast. Well, folks, today we have a special guest. And guys, when I say he's special, he is special. His name is Ronald F. Owens Jr. He worked for the state of California Department of Health Information Officer, if I'm not mistaken. Ronald, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Jeff.
Hey, man.
Thank you for allowing me to come on your platform and share my whistleblower story. And correct, I worked at the California Department of Public Health from March 2nd, 2009 to December 31st, 2023.
Man. Now, Ronald, quick question. How you started in politics? I mean, because was this something like you kind of like always had this desire when you were young? Or your parents were into politics?
Well, basically, I grew up in a family, and we, at that time, would have political discussions around the dinner table. So that's how we were able to get interested in current events. For your audience sake, I'm 68 years old. I was born.
68 years young.
Thank you. Yes,
Young,
yes.
that's young. That is young.
Matter of fact, yeah, thank you for saying that because I don't act 68. I don't act my age, quite frankly. I'm walking 5 miles a day.
Well, you see, you do more than I do.
Yeah. So basically my parents raised my 2 sisters and brother and me to just basically be aware of what's going on around us, current events.
Quick disclaimer. The opinions expressed in this episode are solely those of the guest and do not reflect the views of the host or this podcast or affiliates. All content is for discussion, informational, and entertainment purposes only. At all times, please consult medical professionals and follow official health guidance from the CDC and WHO.
And so we would have robust discussions about current events, politics, whatever. So I just have always been interested in the world around me, globally, nationally. And now with what I'm doing, statewide, when you mentioned politics, you might be prophetic. I don't particularly occupy a political position right now, but what I'm doing is political. And essentially, what I'm doing is I'm going from California county to California county, forming the board of supervisors, the dangers of the COVID-19 vaccine. There are 58 counties in California, and thus far I have appeared before 48 out of 58 counties, and I'm basically sharing with them how the COVID-19 vaccine has harmed and killed many people, and I'm doing that because the California Department of Public Health did not do when I shared with them the dangers of the COVID-19 vaccine way back in April of 2022. And the California Department of Public Health still could do what I'm doing, because they have relationship with the county board of supervisors and the county health officers and the county PIOs. So I guess answering your question, how I got involved with politics, one could construe what I'm doing as political,
Mhm.
because I'm basically informing
Correct.
um, board of supervisor members who were elected by their local citizenry, their local residents, in a political process.
Yeah, true. Wow. So you were you when you started to become when you became a public, you work for the
Information
public health.
officer?
Yes.
Uh,
When was that?
okay, so basically, I started in state service way back in 1994, and I worked at the Department of Toxic Substances Control and Community Relations, informing the local community about toxic waste and remediation or cleanup. I got my first public information officer job permanently with the Department of Motor Vehicles, and I worked there between 1998 to 2004. And then I worked at the California Community Colleges Chancellor's Office as a public information officer between 2004 to 2008. And I saw a promotional opportunity with the California Highway Patrol and the California Department of Public Health. You know, I wanted the highway patrol gig, Jeff. I'll be honest with you. I mean, the cool cars and the motorcycles
Yeah.
that they ride and their uniform, and being the son of an Air Force sergeant, CHP had this kind of military, kind of regimental culture, and I
Mhm.
just thought that, man, I would like to work in the communications office for CHP. But God had other plans for me.
Yeah.
So at the same time that I applied for and was interviewed by the comms director at CHB back in late 2008, early 2009, I also interviewed at CDPH, California Department of Public Health. CHP, they hired somebody else. CDPH, Public Health, they hired me. So I started working as a public information officer at CDPH on March 2nd, 2009. And for those who don't know what a public information officer does, it's an individual who is the liaison between the media. We got press calls coming in from TV reporters, from print journalists, from radio stations, and I worked with the program staff at CDPH to develop responses to the questions that the media asked of us. So that's what a public information officer does. So, yeah, I worked for CDPH for more than 14, almost 15 years.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. That's quite a bit. I
Yeah,
bet you
yeah,
learned a lot. I mean, because you got your background. I mean, you know your stuff.
Well, yeah, the interesting thing, I went to Sac State and I got a BA in government journalism. So I basically had strong writing skills. As a writer, well, during my off times, I'll digress just a moment. I've rewritten in about 10% of the Bible in newspaper format. So
Really?
basically, I would look at scripture and I would just retell Bible stories as if I was reporting on biblical events. So I've rewritten um, editions on Moses and the Exodus and Joshua and the Jericho conquest and Gideon, the entire book of First Samuel, the entire book of Jonah, and a 48-page, 125 story in the life of Jesus Christ in my Bible newspaper, which I offer at no cost, by the way, for those who go to my ronaldfowensjr.com website. They can download those PDFs, those Testament Spectator Bible newspaper editions at no cost. So having a
What's that?
strong
What's that website again?
Ronald F as in Frank Owens, Owens JR.com. So as I
Okay, good.
indicated, anybody who goes to my website, they can download 10% of the Bible in newspaper format at no cost.
That's
So,
amazing.
oh, thank you.
That's amazing. Cause I would never would have thought of that. I mean, that had to be a divine intervention that God just, like, put inside of you, like, "Okay, this is what I want you to do." Cause I woulda never think of that. Wow.
Well, yeah, and I would be I'd be writing my, Bible newspaper Testament Spectator editions at nighttime or on the weekend, and then I go to work and work at CDPH by helping to rewrite talking points, for example, for subject matter experts like doctors and so forth, looking over news releases, um, editing statements that we would email to reporters or dealing with that kind of information, even and also prepping our subject matter experts to be interviewed. So yeah, I have a strong writing background and I would a strong background of looking at technical information. And in my Bible newspaper writing, it would be biblical information, and essentially making it easier for the reader or easier for the listener if the subject matter expert was going to be interviewed by a TV reporter. So God gave me the capability of looking at complex information and retelling it, which is more digestible for the general public.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, when you got into this field that you're into and you started noticing some strange things immediately, or you started noticing things after COVID that you were like, "Hmm, wait one second, I kinda, like, don't agree with this, something is wrong or something is off." Were you
Well,
noticing this at the beginning of your career or
probably,
after?
I think the very first indication that public health is not really about public health
Mhm.
was right when the advent of when tattooing started to really become popular. And I have to clarify, I am not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, but I do have common sense. And as most of us, we do have common sense. And this is not to begrudge anybody to take who have tattoos, but just writing on your body just doesn't
Yeah.
healthy, you know? And I'm sure that the tattoo industry would take offense to that, but this is just my personal opinion. Okay, so my point is that we would be getting questions. I remember back in 2009, 2010, when the tattooing started to really become popular, and, we would be getting questions from reporters asking us asking the California Department of Public Health whether tattooing is healthy, and we really wouldn't answer the question because the question had not been, um, properly addressed by those agencies which should address it. So it was like, well, we would get a response from the Center for Environmental Health. Well, this is not our area because we don't, regulate tattoos. We should probably toss it to another area of the department. I can't think of all the particulars of the department because this was several years ago. But the response to the media was, we really don't have a response. And I'm thinking, well, if based upon my common sense, the writing on because I remember as kids, some of us would be writing, like, notes on our hand. I don't remember that when you were a kid in the
Mhm.
room or whatever, and our teachers say, "No, don't do that. The ink might go into the pores of your skin." And that
Correct, yeah.
yeah. Thank you, teacher. I'm not gonna write anymore. And here you're having needles. I don't know what the rate that it's going inside, the skin, and I do know that the largest organ of the human body is your skin.
Here's your skin, that's
You're
true.
you're permanently inscribing something on your skin. That is not going to be healthy in the long run. This is just my common sense mentality thinking.
Mhm.
So, back to when did I think that my experience at the California Department of Public Health was was not based on public health? That was like, wow, we're not going to weigh in on whether tattooing is healthy. That was
Hmm.
like my first indication that public health is not about public health. It's about political. It's about politics. Another example too, we would be involved with needle exchange programs, basically enabling those who unfortunately have a drug problem to get drugs safely. Our department, or my former employer now, but my then employer was involved with um, safe sex. And the safest sex that a person can have is in a marital, monogamous, how you say that word? Monogamous relationship. But they weren't pushing that as a policies perspective at public health. They weren't
Mhm.
pushing, what do you call it, when you abstain from sex until marriage. I can't think of that word. Maybe you can help me with that
Yeah,
word.
I think I know what you're talking
Abstinence.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
You're
mean,
holding it up, you're waiting for that time.
exactly,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a word for it. Wow, you
It's
know what? When you see about the needles and tattooing, I remember one time when I was very young, and I thought it was cool because you see these musicians and on TV. This is back when MTV was popular, and I'm like, "Wow, I wanna get a tattoo as well." When I was around my 19s, I kinda really wanted one, but then somebody told me, "Hey, you gotta be careful before you do it. Think about AIDS." You know how many times people got AIDS because they went to got a tattoo? From then on, it gave me this fear. It got me so paranoid. I
Huh?
said, "You know what? No, I'm not gonna ever do it." And thank God I never did.
Yeah. Well, that's I do vaguely remember that. Um, coming from a Christian perspective, I believe that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. I think that, our bodies are such well, I believe that our bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, and
Amen.
I just don't want to deface or what's the word where people write on buildings? I don't wanna graffiti my body,
Mhm.
you know? And I know a
Yeah.
lot of people, I've got family members that have tattoos, and like I said, if that's your choice, if that's your choice, but within the context of public health, the California Department of Public Health, when I was there, I don't know what's going on there now, but I doubt that they still have not weighed in on whether tattooing is safe and effective. If I can use that very popular vaccine
Yeah.
phrase. We know it's effective because you've got the images all over your body, but is it truly safe? And like I said, I am not a doctor, but based upon my common sense, I don't think so. Matter of fact, I
Yeah.
know it's safe. But again, if that's what you want to do, that's your prerogative.
That's your prerogative. Wow. Yeah. That's kinda crazy. So that's when you started to notice, like, okay, wait one second. The Department of Health is really not so much concern about certain things. And it's sad because the people don't know this information like you do. And they should be aware, like, hey, you should do this, you shouldn't put this in your body. We should let you know, uh, educate you the pros and cons, to certain things. And, and if you're being limited and not able to express your opinion and your concerns and they're just brushing you off, that is sad. That is really not good.
Yeah, I believe that CDPH, the California Department of Public Health, has done a profound service in several public health issues, mentioning about tattooing, needle exchange, not preaching abstinence. And I'm going to be transparent. I've been a Christian for most of my life, and I've never been married. And my parents taught my siblings and I not to have sex until you get married. And I have lived up to that standard. It's been very challenging. I'm not sharing this to brag on myself. We see people in the world that are preaching, espousing is probably a better word, to have a body count and to go to bed with this person. And you see movies and TV shows where they treat sexual relations between a man and a woman. Now it's between two men and two women. You see that on commercials. You see that
Yeah.
in the plot line of TV and movies. You see that everywhere. And sometimes I feel conscious sharing something that's very personal, and that's you know like sexual relations with another, preferably woman, preferably in a marital relationship. But we have to realize that there's another way. And for those who have, who've engaged in sex before marriage, I encourage to be monogamous. That's a hard word for me to say. You're gonna have to help me out there. Monogamous
Look,
until
I'm Puerto Rican, so trust me, it's harder for me than for you.
Puerto Rican. I'm gonna
Yeah.
digress. I went to Puerto Rico when I went on a cruise many years ago, and
Really?
blown away with that particular. How many islands is it? Is it one major island and or
It's one major island, and you got two small islands nearby. Vieques and Culebras is the ones, but there's little small ones that, nobody lives on. There's, like, tons of those, but they're just little tiny miniature things. They're not really big at all.
I
But
could di
yeah,
I could live in Puerto Rico.
yeah, I
I
mean, it's
yeah,
US territory. I mean, we're all US citizens. You could just take your driver's license and take a flight down there anytime you want.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
well,
Puerto Rico,
go ahead, I'm
now
sorry.
that the island right now, it's good to go on vacations, but it needs a fixer upper. I mean, the government there is just so how can I say? It's I mean, half of it is corrupt and half of it is not.
Wow.
So it needs a complete
I know
change,
that
yeah.
we went from, talking about celibacy and monogamy to Puerto Rico.
I
When
know,
I
well, that's how it is, that's how conversations
yeah,
go.
yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So you landed I'm sure you were in San Juan, I think that's where you because all the cruises go there.
there, yeah. And I realized that in the cruise culture, you really don't they dock at the place where tourists are, and the
Yeah,
tourists are nearby. But when I go to a foreign country, I don't like to go to the touristy areas. I like to go into, and immerse myself into, the areas where non-tourists go, and you get a, uh, not a glitter presentation of the country, but what is really happening, you know?
correct.
So
You wanna go to where the natives go. Where do we go to eat?
yeah,
You
thank you.
know,
Where's
we
that
we're gonna go to our bakeries. You could go
yeah,
the
yeah,
touristy places fine, but when you go to where we go, it's totally different. Our restaurants, our bakeries, it's the foods are different, you know, it's just and it's not that expensive either, because where there's a lot of tourists, everything there is very expensive.
yeah. So
Wow, that's
anyway,
good you
I don't remember where we were at. I know we were talking about, public health, and
Yes, yes.
that's right, how they're not dealing with, um they're not pushing healthy issues. It's about I know that for the sake of your listening audience, you can't see me do this, but I'm dab my index finger and I'm putting it out there, and whatever the political winds are blowing, that and normally the political winds are geared or blowing toward unhealthy lifestyles, you know? And so that was my experience, not weighing in on tattoo, pushing needle exchange, aiding with men having sex with men, and women and men having sex with whoever. That's what public
Mm,
health policy is here in California. And it's really it's a disservice. It's unhealthy. So, but
yeah.
that's what it is.
Well, back in the '80s, AIDS was growing rapidly. That was like you didn't hear too much cancer, you hear more AIDS than anything,
Yeah,
and
I vaguely remember as a young person, yeah, it was. It
yeah,
was.
it was
Remember, oh gosh, yeah, this the what comes to my mind was trying to understand this Magic Johnson, where he basically said, "I have the HIV virus," and therefore I think he announced his retirement, if my memory serves me correctly. So, yeah,
I think so too. If I'm not mistaken, you could only live 5 years back then if you had it,
yeah, I
and he's still alive today, so, I mean, he must had some really good doctors or something
matter of fact,
because
he's not even Jeff, he's not even, he's just not alive. The man is doing well. He owns part of the Los Angeles Dodgers baseball team.
oh,
He's got
wow,
yeah, he's got other businesses, shopping centers, movie theaters. I don't know all of his holdings, but he's doing quite well. Good for him, you know?
good for him, yeah.
Yeah. And when the last couple years that I was at Public Health, I'm going to tell on my former employer. They had an LGBTQ plus our Zoom, and they announced it throughout the department. Is this in 2022? I think this was 2022. I don't think this was 2023. 2022. And, people were allowed to dress up, um, like if you're a man and you wanted to dress up as a woman, you could do so. And,
At the department?
at this virtual Zoom
Mm,
celebration of LGBTQ Pride Month. That's what it was. It
yeah,
was
the
a
Pride Month, okay.
celebration. I think it was 2022. And I think it was so bizarre that they didn't do it in 2023. So, yeah, it was 22. I watched it because I wanted to see what I thought was going to happen. I didn't view it to scoff or make fun. It broke my heart to see these people who are some of them I would exchange emails, and in the signature block of their email, they would have their pronouns, call me, and et cetera, whatever it was. And,
Mhm.
it was just a display of mental health insanity, for lack of a better word, and if I would say that in front of them, they would take grave offense to what I just said.
Mm.
But that is the culture at public health now, and if that is the culture at public health, how can they administer public health? If they are, in effect, believing that a man can become a woman. Matter of fact, I remember also, Jeff, these memories are coming back to me, where they started dropping the word pregnancy in
Really?
external communications. Matter of fact, that's probably all the California State Service now, and they're called people who can get pregnant or something like that. People who can get, they're trying to,
People in labor or
people who can get pregnant. And in other words, they're trying to take the female out of pregnancy. Anybody can get pregnant. They're trying to, by changing the culture, the language has to be specific with that. And so when I saw this press release, I put pregnant woman, yeah, pregnant people, that's right. I put
pregnant people?
back in there when I edited that particular draft of the news release pertaining to my area. Now, when I sent it back, they probably changed it back to pregnant people. But see what they're doing there?
Yeah. That's crazy. I
It
mean,
is.
you know what's sad? Because usually if you work for the government or any industry, you shouldn't be mixing ideology or beliefs or anything into your workspace. Um, I totally believe that. Don't mix that stuff into your workspace whatsoever. If you want to do that stuff in your home, fine. God gave you free will. And that's one thing he's gonna give you. This is what I believe. You wanna do that in your own home? That's you. But
Exactly.
don't bring that stuff into your workspace because not everybody's gonna believe in it. So there's a lot going on, and I just always been against that. You just can't bring ideology into your workspace. Why? Because if I can't talk about Jesus and his love and grace at work, because immediately somebody's gonna get offended.
Yeah.
They're gonna go to HR and say, "Oh wait, Jeff was talking about Jesus and preaching and talking about God, and I feel offended by that." I'm gonna get in trouble. Wait 1 second. What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Well, you brought out another, memory by sharing what you just said. Uh, the director of the California Department of Public Health, Dr. Tomas Aragon, he has since retired, but he would conduct these statewide virtual staff meetings because during this time, we were all locked in our homes and we would be conducting our state business from our state issued computers from the comforts of our domicile. Okay. So before each staff meeting that he would conduct, and there would be hundreds of California Department of Public Health employees on that call, he would have what you call mindful meditation. And so I did some research on that, and that's based on Hinduism and another kind of denomination. So basically, he's practicing religion on the job. Okay, so if I was conducting a staff meeting, would it be proper for me to say, okay, before we have this staff meeting, let's open up in prayer? And I pray in the name of Jesus. You know, I believe that as a Christian that I'm supposed to be respectful of people and their other religions in the workplace,
Mhm.
respect for those who do not have a religion. We got to be respectful. And so, um, I actually filed a complaint making that point known. And I know I filed one. I filed two complaints. Number one with the Office of Civil Rights within our department, and number two with the state attorney general's office because I had filed one complaint in December of 2020, mm, 2021 or 2022. You know, when you leave a place, you kind of forget the years.
Yeah, that
But
happens, it
yeah,
happens.
but this incident is in my Muzzle Truth book, which is available on muzzletruth.com. So you can read that specific there. But it was December. That's right. We were having a virtual Christmas party. Yeah, it's coming back to me. And Dr. Argon not even have these mindful meditations as I indicated during the staff meetings, but he would also have these mindful meditations during this virtual holiday party. They wouldn't even call it Christmas party because they didn't want to offend non-Christians. So basically, they meaning the Office of Civil Rights, rejected my complaint. And I'm trying to synthesize why. If I have said, hey, I'm going to sing, Oh, Come All Ye Faithful. And if they had have said, well, no, you can't sing Oh, Come All Ye Faithful because that's a Christmas carol. You can't sing that. But
Mm,
if Dr. Argon was able to do his mindful meditation, then I think I would have won my case. See what I'm saying? Because
yeah,
it was his religion, Hinduism, mindful
mhm,
meditation, over mine, Christianity. Now, I could have made my point, and basically, I accepted that result. I just wanted Dr. Argon to know that what you're doing is wrong, and because I filed the complaint, he was aware of that, and I was
mm,
good with that. You see what I'm saying? A matter of fact, if we were working in the building and the restroom on the seventh floor, I used to see the directors throughout the years come in the restroom. We would talk shop. I would have pulled him aside and say, Dr. Aragon, this mindful meditation is about Hinduism and meditation. It's about religion. And out of respect for Christians, Muslims, Jews, non-Christians, I don't think it would be right for you to do that. I would have had that friendly conversation with him.
mhm,
The purpose of me filing the first complaint was just like a friendly, gentle, hey, be respectful. Be
yeah,
respectful of the religious and the non-religious. Okay, so that was that. That was December of 2021 or 2022. I forget what year. But anyway, it's in my Muzzle Truth book, all those specifics. Okay, weeks later, it was a what? A staff meeting, and having him know that an anonymous person filed a complaint about his mindful meditations, he did it again.
oh, he did it on purpose.
That kind of made me really angry. And so I filed another complaint. And since the Office of Civil Rights within the California Department of Public Health rejected my complaint because I didn't ask to sing "Who Come Are Ye Faithful," but yet they awarded him but yet he was allowed to meditate. That complaint was immediately routed from the Office of Civil Rights to the State Attorney General's office. They interviewed me again, and they rejected my second complaint based on the same reasons. Now, if I had said, you know what, I want to be able to open up our department staff meetings in prayer, and if they had a said no, then I probably would have won, but it would be wrong for me to have suggested that just to make a point because then I would be guilty of pushing religion into workplaces. See what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So yeah, it's that's the culture with people in power. It's rules for thee, but not for me.
Yeah. That's kinda crazy, and it's sad because United States is I mean, I always remember it to be a Christian country. They took the prayer out, and I just noticed that everything just, like, staring away from God, and I'm like, "Okay, this is totally off." And it's like what I said before, I think I mentioned this, Dr. Margaret, it was good, they call it evil, and what's evil, they're calling it good. I'm baffled of the things that I've been seeing lately, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And with your situation, same thing, if like, okay, now you're allowing certain religions on the work atmosphere, but then when it comes to Christianity, you don't allow it. Okay, so then what's going on here?
Yeah.
You
And
know, eh,
you know what?
and if they're turning down the stuff that you're putting out and you're making the complaints and they're turning it down,
Yeah.
they're doing it on purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're doing it on purpose because I'm sure if you would have said, "Well, I'm into the fantasy of whatever, some alien worshiping spaghetti, whatever, uh, green goblin guy," they would have said, "Okay, no, no, we got to respect your religion. Yeah, you could say your prayers to that
Yeah. But when it comes to
to
singing "Oh,
Jesus."
Be Faithful" or "Joy to the World," like
Mm,
they called it holiday party. You know, they don't even use the word Christmas.
yeah.
Before we proceed, I want to plug a commercial. You mentioned Dr. Margaret, and for those who don't know about that interview, can you please encourage your listeners, if they haven't done so already, to listen to that very powerful interview, particularly, especially the first half an hour or so when she shares her testimony.
Yes, folks, that was a very interesting episode and interview with Dr. Margaret Aranda Ferrantes. Yeah, phenomenal,
Yes, that really blessed
phenomenal.
my heart. But yeah,
Yes.
um, but as I think about it, I'm thinking about the timeline. That interaction with my department, the first time, and I believe it was December of 2021, with the mindful meditation complaint that I filed with the department, and then I refiled again in early 22, emboldened me to share with my management about what I learned about the COVID-19 vaccine. It's like God was preparing me to stand up and speak truth to power because of something I shockingly learned on April 14th, 2022.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So, when COVID was at its max, when do you notice, like, okay, something is not right here? They taken this approach not like the way it should be. I don't think the vaccine is working.
Before I answer your question, let me say this. Encoded in the DNA of every, well, according, well, my age, African American, black person, whatever you want to call me. I'm an American, but whatever.
Yeah.
Is the Tuskegee syphilis experiment. That was conducted between what, 1939, 38-ish, late 30s to 1972 when I was 15 years old. And basically, if you look up the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, these poor black men in Alabama, they had syphilis, and rather than cure these men for 40 years, the forerunner of the CDC. which is now the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and I don't remember the name of the organization, what it was called then, but the forerunner of the CDC allowed these hundreds of black men to die. They took their clipboards out and they just like took notes and watched them suffer and die. And so that's been in the back of my mind. This is the forerunner of the CDC. Maybe I should look that up right quick.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
Tuskegee,
completely.
Tuskegee, syphilis, SYPH, yeah, Tuskegee. It's in Wikipedia. Between 1932 and 1972. Um, the United States Public Health Service, PHS,
Mhm.
um, they watch 400 African American men with syphilis as a control group, and they just watched them suffer and die. It was an experiment. And
Way.
so that was in the back of my mind, so I've always been suspicious of the CDC, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
would too, learning something like that.
yeah. And so, again, that's inculcated in the cultural DNA of particularly, Black people my age and older, or those who are younger who know about that. Okay, so, again, I am not a doctor, but I have common sense.
Mhm.
Putting a mask on my nose and pressing against my mouth, making it difficult for me to breathe, I just don't think, from a common sense perspective, that's healthy. So I remember raising with my management in late spring, early summer of 2020 when we were all locked up. Most were locked up, and I was still working in the building at that time, although some of my colleagues were working at home, and some of them were working at the Governor's Office of Emergency Services in the Joint Information Center. But I raised the issue with my assistant, big director, to, hey, look, it's getting hot and people, when I say hot, it gets pretty hot in Sacramento. 98, 100 degrees, sometimes 105, 170 degrees. And I'm thinking from a common sense perspective, walking around with a mask in hot weather, and I'm thinking, can a virus thrive in such heat? I don't think so, you know? And so I suggested that we do a news release saying, cautioning about wearing masks while you're outside and it's 100 plus degrees in Sacramento, California. Quite
Hmm.
that idea was shot down. And so when you know that common sense, like the tattooing, writing on your skin, pushing needle exchange, um, encouraging men having sex with men, encouraging people having sex with multiple partners. You see what I'm saying? It begins to
Yeah.
add up. Now, all of a sudden, I'm to believe that me wearing a mask in 100 plus degree weather is for my health when the other issues I just mentioned aren't healthy. I'm not believing what the California Department of I'm not buying what they're selling, okay?
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I was told, and I don't know if this is 100% correct. I'm just going by what I was told. Um, mm, I was told that the COVID, it could go through your pores. So the mask would do absolutely nothing.
Trying to stop a fly from wearing a mask is trying to stop a fly from, flying through a chain link fence.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, that's how it is. I mean, I was told that. I'm not 100%, have the evidence with me or, but I was told that. They was saying, listen, that could go straight to your pores. The mask is not going to do absolutely nothing.
Yeah, and
And I'm
Jeff, you
like,
know what? Um, if I don't have my glasses adjusted perfectly,
mm-hmm.
um, the, guess the temple part of the ear, it can cause problems, behind my ears, and I'm looking at these string, things that go around your ear when you wear a mask, that's going to cause major problem behind my ears, to me in addition to prohibiting me not to be able to breathe properly, you know?
Yeah. Well,
So
they were selling these special type of plastics that hold the mask in your back and had and some these rubber things because people were complaining about it.
yeah.
They said, "Listen, this is causing me headaches." It was giving people headaches, it was giving people skin irritation, and what I didn't agree was that they were forcing it on children. I was like, "No, that's now you're going too far." So
Yeah.
it was just it was way too much. Now, once you started discovering that something is not right.
Well, uh, October 2021, I received an email in addition to my deputy director and deputy director, and on that email chain was, the senior leadership, Dr. Tomas Argon, the director, she's not a doctor, but Christine Theodore, the assistant director, and some other brass at the department. And the California Department of Public Health, we're going to post on our website that warning Californians to stay away from ivermectin, stay away from it. It's dangerous. And knowing that I have basically been listening to some of these subject matter experts, Dr. Margaret's peers, who were deplatformed, who were censored, whose licenses were revoked. They were saying, "No, ivermectin cures COVID," and I knew that. And so I conducted some research in October of 2021, came across some information of a hearing that occurred a year or so earlier in December of 2020. Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson held a hearing, and Dr. Pierre Corey testified that he cured more than 8,000 people, many of whom, I might add, were people of color, inner city people. He, Dr. Corey, treated these people with properly dosed ivermectin. I was so excited. Man, we can really beat COVID with this news.
Mhm.
I wrote a response to the email that was sent to me. I replied all. And in that particular email, I indicated that according to Dr. Pierre Corey, and I listed his credentials, and I listed the information where they could read the testimony that Dr. Pierre Corey read at the Senator Ron Johnson's hearing in December of 2020, that we could take the lead, not only here in California, but in the United States, indeed the world, um, about properly dosed ivermectin being able to cure COVID.
Mm.
You know what? They made it about the messenger. They basically said, "Ron, you're not a doctor." I didn't pretend to be. And number two, um, our role, CDPH's role, is not to approve treatment. That's the role of the FDA. And I'm thinking, here we have this international pandemic, and I get a bureaucratic response. Why can't we think out of the box? Why are we thinking what we can't do and try to figure out what we can do? So
Mhm.
again, I'm going to go back to the tattooing. There's there.
Mm.
You got the tattooing, looking the other way. You've got pushing needle exchange. You got pushing men having sex with men, men having sex with women, women having sex with women outside of marriage. You've got, ignoring about mask. And now you're saying, oh, ivermectin is bad. Okay. Thus far, how many things that I missed out here that were kind of
My goodness.
and so basically, when I sent that email, I just felt like I was really upsetting the apple cart. Wonder where that phrase came from, you know? I really felt like I felt shock waves. I could just feel it like, oh man, I really stepped on some toes. I really have said something that I wasn't supposed to say, but it was for me to say it. God,
Yeah.
I wanted to work at the California Highway Patrol.
Yeah.
Since
Why you
God
got me in this?
but God got me into this, and I'm going to make the best of it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the last thing they said, number 1, I'm not a doctor. I'm trying to summarize what they said. Number 1, I'm not a doctor. Number 2, this is not our role to approve treatment. And number 3, next time you have any sort of policy, suggestions or disagreement, don't just just send it to your immediate supervisors. They didn't like the fact that I included the director. They didn't like that I included the assistant director.
Mhm.
Uh, they wanted to keep things, information, controlled, and I was like a loose cannon in their eyes. So that was that. That was my big initial foray in speaking truth to power. I did it between my management months earlier when I addressed the issue of masks. It was a verbal conversation, nothing written down between him and I in his office. And then in October of 2021, I formalized me speaking truth to power when I replied all to that email that was sent to me. uh,
Mhm.
they wanted me to take a look at the statement they were going to put on CDPH's website telling 40 million Californians to stay away from ivermectin. Now, the big thing that happened was,
I'm sure if it was vitamin C that was curing COVID, they were gonna probably say the same thing. "Stay away from vitamin C."
oh, yeah, because I think, and this is what my opinion is. I have no documentation to base it on, but I think
Correct.
it had to do with money. The
In my
vaccine,
opinion, I
yeah,
also feel, and I think many of us, millions of us, believe there's money involved.
exactly.
I mean, because hello, if we found the cure and something is helping, didn't COVID affect more the African American community, the Hispanic community?
I
Um,
believe so, and that's
it's really
interesting.
weird. I was like, wait one second, they were dying more than other communities. Okay, something is going on here.
That would be a great question for a Dr. Margaret or one of her peers to answer, but I believe that you are correct. I know what the Department of Health and Human Services Secretary Javier Becerra said on April 14th, 2022, and this is the main point of my muzzled truth whistleblower story. On April 14th, 2022, there was a White House convening on equity summit. It was virtually held. And day, Javier Becerra, the Department of Health and Human Services Secretary, is talking about the COVID-19 vaccines. And he said, quote, "We know these vaccines are killing people of color, blacks, Latinos, indigenous people at about 2 times the rate of white Americans." Jeff and your audience, when I saw that, I was on Telegram. I went on Telegram. I downloaded Telegram months earlier just to kind of see what's going on because I knew the mainstream media was lying about all things COVID. So I was getting information elsewhere.
Mhm.
I saw on Telegram, and I don't know what channel I saw it on, what Javier Becerra said. I played it over and over and over. Did he say that? And the more I played it, did he say that? And I looked at the people who he said it to. One was another cabinet secretary, Marcia Fudge, who was the director or secretary of Housing Urban Development. Another one was Susan Rice. Another one was Shalana Young. And the interpreter. I looked at the body language when he said, "We know these vaccines are killing people." Their body language was as such as no one like indicated they were alarmed by it. No one said, or Secretary Becerra, can you stop that? Did you misspeak? No one said, "Could you expand? Could you clarify?" He
Mm.
said it, they didn't respond to it, and because of their non-response, it indicated in my mind that there was more credence to what he said. And again, I was watching the Dr. Sherry Tenpennies, other doctors whose names they're not coming to my forefront right now, but I was hearing from these credible doctors who have a lot of letters after their names, very accomplished people who've worked decades in their field. They were telling us that these vaccines are ravaging and injuring and killing a lot of people.
Mm.
So I composed another email and I sent it to my deputy director, and I believe I CC'd my assistant deputy, and maybe he wasn't there then. I have to refresh my memory. So while I'm talking to you, I'm going to my muzzletruth.com website because
Mhm.
people can go to my muzzletruth.com website. Don't take my word for it. The emails are right there on my website for
Also,
all.
you have the emails there on your website.
Exactly. Matter of fact, I'm
Wow.
holding
Quick disclaimer: the opinions expressed in this episode are solely those of the guest and do not reflect the views of the host or this podcast or affiliates. All content is for discussion, informational, and entertainment purposes only. At all times, please consult medical professionals and follow official health guidance from the CDC and WHO.
down to this section so people can look for themselves. Yes, the subhead or the headline for that particular button reads CDPH rejected COVID-19 treatment and vaccine warnings. Click on that to view, and there's a 62-page PDF. And the first few pages are the emails that I sent and the response I got back regarding using properly dosed ivermectin can cure COVID. And the other emails after that is what I sent to my management about the COVID-19 vaccines are killing people. So I sent that email on Monday, April 18th, 2022 at 11:58 a.m.
You remember everything. You
I
got
don't
it
remember
down.
it, man. I'm just looking at the
Oh,
email.
you're looking at
Yeah.
it.
And then I got a response back from my deputy director at 2:41 p.m. So 11:58, 12:58, 1:58, just almost 3 hours, Jeff. I got an email response back, and it was a very and I did copy my media team supervisor in addition to sending it to my deputy director as I was instructed to do when I sent my ivermectin email. I didn't send it to senior management. I'm talking about the COVID-19 vaccines are killing people emails. I sent it directly to my management. Kept it. I didn't want to come across like I was insubordinate. All right. And her response, thanks for your email, Ron. That's it.
That's it?
I indicated there are thousands of people that are dying and are injured by the COVID-19 vaccine. And Jeff, and your audience, the response from my deputy director was, "Thanks for your email, comma, Ron." Period.
No follow-up?
That's it.
Uh, Not even thank you. I will look into this. I will get back to you. I am going to investigate the matter. Thank you for the information. If you have anything else, I'll follow up or please call me. Let's talk.
See what
Nothing. Just thanks. That's it.
see what
That's
yours is? That's what I
yeah.
would have thought would have been a response. Like, "Oh, man, God, I should tell the director this. Let me
Let's
approach."
investigate this. Let's go
Yeah,
thoroughly in this. Let's take a look because you just never know.
yeah, I'm curious if she forwarded my email to somebody else. I don't know. Did she inform somebody else? Did she just trash it? That's a question. Okay, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say it to protect myself legally. What she did and did not do constitutes allegedly, I'm using the word allegedly to protect myself, And if it was some sort of tribunal, international tribunal regarding and someone questioning her, I'd like to ask her, "What did you do when I sent you this email on Monday, April 18th, 2022 at 11:58 AM? Did you do something between 11:58 AM and 2:41 PM? The time that you responded to my email?" I don't know the answer to that question, Jeff. I surely would like to know. What's the answer to that question if she did anything, because in the email that I sent, I basically, indicated that there were more than 1.25 million reports filed on VAERS, and VAERS is the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, and it's co-managed by the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and I listed the number of deaths: 149,527 hospitalizations, 127,492 urgent care, 187,893 doctor office visits. Listen to this: 9,615 anaphylaxis, 15,110 Bell's palsy, 4,496 miscarriages, 13,819 heart attacks, 38,605 myocarditis, pericarditis, 50,100 permanently disabled, 6,379 thrombocytopenia, low platelet, 30,293 life-threatening, 41,556 severe allergic reaction, 13,413 shingles, and all you're telling me after I share this information with you is thanks for your email, Ron?
Wow. Ay, ay, ay.
You know, you might as well laugh because it makes me cry, it makes me angry, it exasperates me, it frustrates me, it vexes me, it depresses me. So you might as well laugh.
No follow-up after that?
No follow-up app,
Nothing.
nothing, nothing. And so, quite naturally, I was enraged, surprised, shocked, exasperated, vexed. And so from then, April of 2022 and May of 2022 and June and July, again, I was listening to all these credible subject matter experts talk about how COVID-19 vaccine is injuring and killing. And so I thought, in October, I'm going to revisit the issue. I'm not going
Mm,
away, okay? So on October 13th, I sent another email to my boss, updating with her the information that I had sent to her months earlier. And I basically said that more than 1.2 5 million reports were filed in April of 2022. Now there's 1.43 million. And indicated an uptick in all those areas that I read, and all those areas were a lot of multisyllabic medical terms, but basically people suffering heart attacks, people suffering from strokes, people suffering from seizures. Matter of fact, I talked to a woman 2, 3 weeks ago who took the vaccine, and when you've heard of this phrase, Bell's palsy, her the right side of her face, she took off her sunglasses. It broke my heart, Jeff, to
mm,
see the damage done to her right eye, and the right side of her face was just wrinkly, if I can use that adjective,
yeah.
but it was stronger than that, but that's the only adjective that comes to my mind. And, so anyway, yeah, I sent an updated email in October of 13th of 2022, months before my first email. And, I got a response. Never got a response from my deputy director, but I did get a response from my media team supervisor. Again, the email response is on my muzzletruth.com website, and it's dated Thursday, October 20th, 2022 at 4:14 PM. And basically, it says, "Ron, I understand from previous communication that you have sent," and I won't name the names, but people can
Yeah.
read the names in the email. And myself, your concerns regarding COVID-19 vaccines. As you are aware, it is in conflict with the department's stance and research findings on vaccination. If you feel, you notice the word feel?
Mhm.
If you feel you need to learn about more about CDPH's official position, all COVID-19 communication for department employees can be found here. And he left me an intranet link.
Yeah.
As such, listen to this, Jeff and audience. As such, the management team will not have any additional response to your questions. In other words, stop emailing us.
Oh
Stop
my
emailing
gosh.
us about properly dosed ivermectin. Stop emailing us regarding the COVID-19 vaccines. We don't want to hear it because your views, we feel like your views is in conflict. Oh no, if you feel like it's not the debate on feelings. I'm I shared information.
D Now, do you think that they wanted a doctor's opinion on this?
I think
What's your opinion on that?
my personal opinion, the information that I brought regarding property ivermectin, which can't make the money that the big pharma makes from pushing the vaccines. And I think that the COVID-19 vaccines are killing people narrative is contrary to what we were telling 40 million Californians that COVID-19 vaccines are safe and effective. My
Now
information contradicted that.
true. Now, are there still people being harmed with the COVID vaccine
Yes.
till
Lem
today?
yes,
The thing
even
is, you just don't hear no more in the news media or anything.
kinda like, it's like, oh, with COVID, that was, like, years ago.
Yeah, prehistoric.
Suffering from it not now, and the reason why this is still germane today, especially here in California, is because, Governor Newsom formed this tri-state health alliance with the states of not only California, but Washington and Oregon. And I understand Italy has joined in to counteract their objection to the current Department of Health and Human Services Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. They think that he is ignoring the science. He's ignoring the safety and the efficacy of vaccines. And so they're trying to carve out their um, um, moving forward, what they're going to do. They're still pushing the COVID-19 vaccines. They're pushing all vaccines. Matter of fact, I went to Eureka and attended the Humboldt Board of Supervisor meeting this past Tuesday. I want to, before I make my point there, and I got to remember my point because sometimes when I digress, I forget what my point is. I have a Can-Am Spyder motorcycle. For those who don't know what that is, it's a two tires in front, in back motorcycle. So I'm riding my motorcycle all over California. And then Humboldt County was my 48th County Board of Supervisor in person appearance. And I'm riding up Highway 101, very picturesque, riding through the redwoods. I'm riding on the 101. I look to my right, Jeff, and I saw this deer eating along the side of the road. And and then I go further down, and I actually saw a black bear. And he was kinda galloping toward the forest, and, I kept it moving.
Mm,
I didn't wanna pull over to take a picture because, it was a bear, okay, But I you don't see a deer or see a bear, every day, so that's what I was doing. I was riding at 101 on my way to Humboldt County. Okay, so the next day, early that morning, I go to Humboldt County's public health website, the county website, And then on their website, it displays that COVID-19 vaccines, answering your question, are they still pushing the vaccine? And the answer is yes, here in California. Probably elsewhere too, but I'm only speaking about California because I'm a California citizen.
Correct.
So on Humboldt County's public health website, it displays that the COVID-19 vaccines are safe, effective, and free. And I stood before the Humboldt County Board of Supervisors this past Tuesday, and I shared with them what's on their website. And I shared that according to Health and Safety Code 101025, there's a phrase there that the Board of Supervisors has a statutory responsibility to preserve and protect the public health, and that they need to direct their county health officer to stop promoting, stop administering, and stop distributing the COVID-19 vaccine. And I say, at least at minimum, they need to tell their residents that the COVID-19 vaccines are not safe and effective. So I'm going from county to county. I've already provided written notification to all 58 counties here in California in December of 2020, excuse me, July of 2024. And people can read what I sent to all the counties on my muzzletruth.com website. Matter of fact, I have a button that I have posted so people can read what I sent to Sacramento County on July 23rd, 2024. It's called 723 Sacramento County COVID-19 vaccine shot warning. And that's a separate document because I live in Sacramento County, and that's what I provided my Board of Supervisors on July 23rd, 2024. And then on July 29th, 2024, there's a document titled California's 57 Other Boards of Supervisors COVID-19 Shot Warning. And people can click to view that 5-page PDF. And I basically tell my whistleblower story for the Board of Supervisors. So I provided written notification to all 58 county supervisors. 58 times 5 is 300 and some odd. I public official, and I can't remember the exact, but it's in my on my website. And also, I copied the clerks of the
Two
board.
290.
Exactly. Thank you.
290, yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, 290 public officials in California. Okay, so 296. And the reason why there's six more is because the county and the city of San Francisco, they merged. And so that's the only local body that has 11 board of supervisor members, and the other 57 counties have 5 supervisor members. So thank you for doing that math. So I emailed all board of supervisor members throughout California, 296, 258 total, because as I indicated moments ago, I included the clerks of the board as well. So I provided written notification to all 58 board of supervisors, 296 total in July of 24. I did an update in December of 2020. I'm appearing in person. Thus far, 48 out of 58. And after every in-person appearance, I provide more information in writing. Each county here in California, when my job is done, and I've got 8 more counties to go, when my job is done, Jeff, I would have provided 3 written notifications and 1 in-person appearance, sharing with local politicians. And you're asking me how I got involved in politics. I'm politics,
Yep,
right? You
there
know?
you go.
Yeah, I'm sharing with them the dangers of the COVID-19 vaccine. And
Ronald, I gotta say, what you're doing is truly honorable. Spreading the word, giving out this information. Unfortunately, a lot of people they're not taking you serious because they're probably looking, okay, what's your background? and all this stuff, you know, it's unfortunate because you're providing them evidence with information and everything that you're getting your sources from because they're going to ask where you get your sources or where you get your information. And it's so sad, but you're doing what you gotta do, and I truly admire that, and I hope everything goes well for you spreading this word out and with also with your website. That being said, I know the time is of essence, and I got a meeting. If not, we could keep on talking for hours. You see, I told you we could go on for quite a bit. I
Yeah.
do wanna bring you back on, later on down the future. We could continue with more, but thank you so much for coming on the pod.
I appreciate you allowing me to share with your audience. Um, I'm going to say that in California, and this is just in California, we're not talking about other states, but it's been a massive. A lot of people have died, and I'm trying to look at how many thus far that we know of. It was 749, but I think it's 750 something now. And I don't like just to throw numbers around like that because I like to be specific because each number represents a person, you know? And so I'm looking at my notes here, and I know you have to go, so I appreciate your patience. Um, Gosh, where is it? Okay, here it is. Yeah. 751 Californians die from the COVID-19 vaccines. Jeff, if there was like a banquet and 1,000 people were at this banquet and 751 people died of some sort of food poisoning, wouldn't this be big news?
They would close down the business. That would be catastrophic. That will go yeah, that would be big news. If
Yeah,
it was a business, they would close that business in every single state. That's a
yeah.
lot. That's way too many.
So
One death is too much. I always
thank
say one
thank you.
death is too much.
Well, my website is muzzledtruth.com, muzzledtruth.com, and my Muzzled Truth book is in paperback and ebook and audiobook, and I narrated the audiobook. If you buy Muzzled Truth, it'll help me financially insofar as going on my travels. And then I've written 5 other Bible-based books at Ronald F. Owens Jr.com, and my my ex moniker is Muzzled Truth One, and you can reach me on Facebook at Ronald F. Owens Jr.
Thank you so much. God bless you. And I know God is going to guide you through this journey and He's going to continue to bless you so you could spread the word. Thank you.
Thank you much.
Okay, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. Till next time, God bless. Peace. Quick disclaimer: the opinions expressed in this episode are solely those of the guest and do not reflect the views of the host or this podcast or affiliates. All content is for discussion, informational, and entertainment purposes only. At all times, please consult medical professionals and follow official health guidance from the CDC and WHO.
Thank you for listening to this episode on the Rascals Lounge podcast, and please don't forget to follow us on X and on your favorite podcast platform.